Sitting in my corner office overlooking Elliott Bay this morning, I watched my iPhone light up with yet another missed call from a Portland area code I had blocked 9 years ago. 47 missed calls in 2 days, along with voicemails I refused to listen to. The preview text was enough. "Ivy, please pick up. We need to talk. Your mother is—" I set the phone face down and took a sip of my coffee, remembering the last words my mother spat at me when I was 17. "You'll be back begging in a month, mark my words." I glanced at my laptop screen showing last year's revenue, $8.7 million. The broken teenager with $73 in her pocket sure proved them wrong. Before I share how a broken teenager with empty pockets built a multi-million empire, tell me where you're tuning in from tonight. Are you watching from your cozy bedroom or maybe during your lunch break? Drop your location below, smash that subscribe button, and buckle up for a journey that proves sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the greatest triumph. Growing up in Beaverton, Oregon, I always knew something was different about how my parents treated me compared to my younger sister Sophia. My father, David, a manager at Nike headquarters, earning $95,000 a year, and my mother, Patricia, a nurse at OHSU Hospital, making $72,000 provided well for our family materially. We lived in a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a great neighborhood, but the emotional landscape inside those walls told a completely different story. Sophia, 4 years younger than me, was what everyone called the golden child. She was pretty compliant and seemed to effortlessly win my parents' approval in ways I never could. When I brought home straight A report cards at age 10, my mother would glance at it and say, "Good, but your handwriting needs work." When Sophia brought home a B+, they would throw a little celebration dinner. I spent 6 years learning piano and became quite skilled, but my parents only seemed interested in whether Sophia might want to take lessons too. The pattern became painfully clear during family movie nights when Sophia always got to choose what we watched, or during dinner conversations that revolved around her interests, while mine were dismissed as phases. I learned early to be self-sufficient, cooking my own meals when the family went out for Sophia's activities, doing my own laundry, and solving my academic challenges without help. The loneliness of living with 4 people yet feeling completely invisible was something I carried with me every single day. When I turned 14 and discovered my passion for web design, I taught myself how to code and started creating websites for local businesses, earning $800 in my first few months. Instead of pride, my parents expressed concern that this computer stuff would distract me from real studies. Meanwhile, when Sophia showed interest in makeup and fashion, they enthusiastically supported her, saying she should follow her passion. The double standard was becoming impossible to ignore. The breaking point came when I was 15 and got accepted into a prestigious summer tech camp at Portland State University. This program was for the top 30 students statewide, and the $3,000 fee felt worth it for such an incredible opportunity. When I asked my parents to help with the cost, they immediately refused, saying it was too expensive for something uncertain. 1 week later, Sophia mentioned wanting to attend a dance camp costing $2,500, and they approved it without hesitation. I remember asking my mother point blank, why is her dream worth more than mine? My father's response cut deep. Dance is more practical for girls. Technology is just a phase. My mother added, don't be selfish, Ivy. We cannot afford both. But I knew the truth. They could afford both. They simply chose not to invest in my future the same way they invested in hers. That summer, instead of giving up, I worked relentlessly selling homemade baked goods at school and tutoring younger students in math. I managed to earn the full $3,000 in 3 months, but by then it was too late to register. Instead, I spent that entire summer teaching myself advanced coding through online courses. I even created a website to sell handmade jewelry for Sophia, which earned $1,200 in 2 months. Sophia got all the credit and kept all the money while I received only a casual thank you. That was the moment I realized that in my family I was nothing more than a tool to serve others. The favoritism was not just preference, It was systematic erasure of my worth and potential. I began formulating my escape plan, knowing that the only way to prove my value was to build it entirely on my own terms. My junior year marked the beginning of the end of my relationship with my family. At 16, I started working part-time at a local coffee shop called Grind Coffee after school. My goal was simple: save money for college and prove I could handle independence. The job taught me responsibility, customer service, and money management, but my parents saw it only as a distraction and embarrassment. My mother opposed the job from day one. Your grades will suffer. Focus on school instead of these distractions. When I maintained straight A's while working 20 hours a week, she moved the goalposts. Working at your age sends the wrong message. People will think we cannot provide for you. My father echoed her concerns, more worried about their reputation than my growth and ambition. Meanwhile, Sophia received a brand new iPhone costing $1,200, while I continued using a 5-year-old phone with a cracked screen. Each month, I earned about $600, and I saved every penny possible, eating packed lunches and walking everywhere to avoid spending money on gas. My parents never asked about my work experiences or showed interest in what I was learning. They only complained when I came home tired or had to skip family dinners because of my schedule. Their lack of support made me even more determined to prove I could succeed without their help. After 8 months of working, I had saved $4,200 in a joint savings account with my mother. I felt proud of this achievement and was planning to use it for college expenses. Then came the moment that shattered whatever trust remained between us. Sophia decided she wanted to join her school choir on a summer trip to Europe, which cost $3,800. One day, I checked my account balance and discovered my money was gone. The confrontation at dinner that night was explosive. "Mom, where is my money?" I demanded, my voice shaking with disbelief. My mother, without a trace of shame, replied, "It is not your money, Ivy. This family shares resources." I could not believe what I was hearing. I worked 200 hours for that money. It was for my college fund. My father supported her decision completely. Sophia's opportunity is once in a lifetime. You can earn more money later. What about my opportunities? What about my dreams? I asked, tears of frustration building in my eyes. My mother's response was cold and dismissive. "Do not be dramatic. Family comes first." But her definition of family apparently only included Sophia. When I said, "Apparently only Sophia is part of this family," I was grounded for 2 weeks for having a disrespectful attitude. Senior year brought the devastating blow that would ultimately push me to leave forever. After years of hard work, I received an acceptance letter from Stanford University with a partial scholarship. I still needed $28,000 per year, but I had worked extra hours, written 15 scholarship essays, and maintained a 3.97 GPA to make this dream possible. I was ecstatic and could not wait to share the news with my family. That evening at dinner, I proudly showed them the acceptance letter. Instead of celebration, I was met with immediate rejection. "Stanford? That is too expensive and too far," my mother said without even reading the details. My father added, "Portland State is perfectly good. Live at home and save money." When I protested that this was Stanford, one of the best schools in the world, they accused me of being unrealistic and impractical. The real betrayal came when I discovered they had saved $35,000 specifically for Sophia's college fund, but had nothing set aside for mine. When I confronted them about this inequality, they claimed they had more time to save for her because she was younger. But when I accessed the bank records through our joint account, I found they had been contributing to Sophia's fund since I was 10 years old. They had planned her future for years while never planning mine. My ultimatum was simple. I am taking a gap year to work full-time and save money for Stanford next year. My mother's response was swift and cruel. "Absolutely not. Gap years are for lazy kids." When I asked them to help me pay for Stanford immediately, my father said, "We have made our decision. Portland State, or community college. That was when I realized they would never support my dreams no matter how hard I worked or how much I achieved. Fine, I told them. I will prove I do not need your help. My mother's final threat was designed to break me. If you walk out that door, do not expect to come back. But I was done being afraid of their rejection. I never planned to, I replied, and I meant every word. Graduation night in May 2015 changed everything. I had received a job offer from a tech startup called Digital Dynamics in Seattle, offering me a position as junior marketing coordinator with a salary of $38,000 per year plus benefits. The opportunity represented everything I wanted: independence, growth potential, and a chance to build my own life away from the toxicity of my family home. When I announced my decision at what would be our final family dinner together, the explosion was immediate and vicious. You are throwing your life away for what, some startup that will fail in 6 months? My mother screamed, her face red with anger. My father predicted, Seattle is expensive. You will be broke in 3 months. Even Sophia joined the attack. Why do you always have to be so difficult, Ivy? I tried to remain calm as I explained, I am not being difficult. I am choosing my own path. But my mother was beyond reason. She stood up from the table, pointing at me with shaking hands. Fine, but when you fail, when you are living on the streets, do not come crying back to us. Her words stung, but I had expected them. I will not need to. I will succeed without you, I replied firmly. Then came the words that would haunt me for years, but also fuel my determination. You'll be back begging in a month, mark my words. Girls like you always come crawling back. The cruelty in her voice, the certainty of my failure in her tone, crystallized everything wrong with my family dynamic. They had never believed in me, never supported my dreams, and were now actively rooting for my destruction. The next morning, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. My father stood in the kitchen, refusing to help, just shaking his head and muttering, You are making the biggest mistake of your life. My mother would not even come downstairs, instead, shouting from her bedroom, Do not expect us to fix your mess. Sophia hid in her room, not even saying goodbye to the sister who had created opportunities for her and asked for nothing in return. Walking to the front door with my 2 suitcases, I paused to look back at the house where I had spent 17 years feeling like an outsider. This was never really my home anyway, I whispered to myself. When my father slammed the door in my face, the sound echoing through the neighborhood, I felt a strange sense of relief. The pretense was finally over. Standing alone on the porch with my belongings and an Uber waiting to take me to the airport, I wiped away my tears and stepped forward into my new life. Arriving in Seattle with exactly $1,273 to my name, I found a shared apartment in Capitol Hill for $450 per month. My room was 8 by 10 feet, with a mattress on the floor and an old desk I bought from Goodwill for $20. For the first few months, I lived on ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches, spending no more than $40 per week on food. Digital Dynamics was a small company with 12 employees led by CEO Jake Morrison, a 29-year-old former Amazon employee who believed in giving young people opportunities to grow. I threw myself into learning everything about marketing automation, social media strategy, and client relations. While I officially worked 50 hours per week, I spent another 20 hours at home studying industry trends and teaching myself advanced marketing techniques. When I received my first paycheck of $2,100 after taxes, I felt richer than I had ever imagined possible. The phone call home to share my good news was met with my mother's typical dismissiveness. Do not get cocky. The real world will humble you. But her pessimism no longer hurt me the way it once did. I was beginning to understand that their negativity said more about them than it did about me. My breakthrough came in December 2015 when I proposed a marketing campaign for our biggest client, the Pacific Northwest Tourism Board. My idea combined Instagram photo contests with strategic influencer partnerships, creating authentic content that would drive tourism to the region. The campaign exceeded all expectations, generating a 340% increase in website traffic and a 67% boost in regional bookings. The client was so impressed, they extended their contract from $25,000 to $85,000, and Jake promoted me to marketing specialist with a salary increase to $45,000. I moved into my own studio apartment for $750 per month, the first space that was truly mine. When I called home to share the success, my mother's response was predictably deflating. Do not let success go to your head. Pride comes before the fall. That conversation was my wake-up call. I finally understood that they would never be happy for my achievements, never celebrate my victories, and never offer the support I had craved my entire life. From that moment forward, I stopped seeking their approval and focused entirely on building the life I wanted. At 19, I was recruited by a larger agency called Northwest Creative, which offered me $62,000 per year to handle accounts for major clients, including REI Starbucks regional campaigns and local tech startups. I also began taking freelance projects in the evenings and weekends, earning an additional $15,000 to $20,000 annually. By age 20, I'd saved enough money to launch my own consulting business, Ivy Digital Solutions. My first year as an entrepreneur generated $45,000 in revenue from 8 clients, while I continued working full-time. At 21, I took the leap into full-time entrepreneurship, hiring my first employee, Sarah Chen, a recent college graduate with exceptional design skills. We worked out of a small shared office space, but our revenue reached $120,000 with a profit of $78,000. The business grew rapidly as we attracted major clients, including Microsoft's Small Business Division, Amazon local partners, and Zillow's regional marketing team. By 22, we had 8 employees and revenue of $380,000. Despite the pandemic in 2020, our business thrived as companies desperately needed help with digital transformation, pushing our revenue to $650,000 with a team of 15 people. At 24, we crossed the $1.2 million revenue mark and opened a second office in Portland, ironically just 20 minutes from my childhood home. The following year, we partnered with a venture capital firm to expand nationally, reaching $3.8 million in revenue with offices in 5 cities. By my 26th birthday, we were preparing for an initial public offering with a company valuation of $45 million. As the majority shareholder with 67% equity, my net worth reached approximately $30 million. I purchased a penthouse condominium in Seattle overlooking Elliott Bay for $2.8 million, finally achieving the financial security and independence I had dreamed of since I was a teenager, working at that coffee shop in Beaverton. In March 2024, 9 years after that door slammed in my face, I was reviewing first quarter financials in my home office when my iPhone began buzzing with calls from a Portland area code I had blocked long ago. After ignoring 5 calls, curiosity finally won, and I answered. "Ivy, sweetheart, please do not hang up," came my mother's voice, shakier and older than I remembered. My heart raced despite my success and maturity. "What do you want, Mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Through tears, she explained that my father had lost his job the previous year. Sophia had dropped out of college and was struggling with addiction, and they were facing foreclosure on their house. "We thought maybe you could," she began, but I interrupted. "I could, what are?" The conversation continued with my father taking the phone. "Ivy, we are proud of you. We always were. We just did not know how to show it." I laughed coldly at the absurdity. 9 years too late, Dad. Where was this pride when I needed it? My mother's voice returned desperate and pleading. "We were scared. You were so independent, so different. We did not understand your dreams." But her explanation felt hollow after nearly a decade of silence. "You did not try to understand. You made your choice 9 years ago." I replied, feeling surprisingly calm rather than angry. As I listened to their pleas for financial help, I reflected on the journey that brought me to this moment. The broken teenager they had rejected had built not just a successful business, but a fulfilling life surrounded by people who valued and supported her. Through therapy, I had processed the childhood trauma and abandonment issues, learning to build chosen family with employees, mentors, and close friends who celebrated my achievements. I had found love with Marcus, a fellow entrepreneur who encouraged my ambitions rather than diminishing them. Together, we had created a company culture based on inclusion and employee appreciation, treating everyone with the respect and support I had never received at home. I volunteered with homeless youth programs, understanding their struggle for independence and self-worth in ways my parents never could. I am not angry anymore, I told them honestly, but I am also not your solution. When my mother insisted we were family, I responded with the truth that had taken me years to accept. Family does not kick out their 17-year-old daughter. Family does not slam doors in faces. After I hung up and blocked their number again, I felt no guilt, only peace with my decision. Looking out at Elliott Bay from my beautiful home, I understood that forgiveness does not require reconciliation. The worst thing that happened to me at 17 had become the best thing that could have happened. I thought I had lost my family, but I had found myself instead. The door they slammed in my face had opened every other door in my life. Some bridges are meant to stay burned, and that is perfectly okay. My phone remained silent beside me exactly as it should be, while I continued building the life I had always deserved. Have you ever had to choose between staying in a toxic situation or taking a terrifying leap into the unknown? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below about times when rejection became redirection in your own life. If this story inspired you to believe in your own potential, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear that their worth is not determined by other people's inability to see it. Subscribe for more stories about turning pain into power. And remember that sometimes the family you choose loves you better than the one you were born into. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you the courage to build the life you deserve, no matter who believes in you along the way.